So 246. Today we're talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between the Wild and the Avs. So the Avs in the second game of a back-to-back playing in Minnesota, and they they have fared okay. It's just they they didn't seem up to par with how they usually play, and they only scored one goal in this game. It was weird how against Chicago the first two periods of that game they ended up not scoring at all, and then the third period they had two goals and then the empty netter, but two regular goals, two normal goals, that being. And just last night, there it's just weird to see the Avs not produce a ton of offense because this is a team that's ton of offense. They're a ton of rush speed. They're a ton of entry play. They're a ton of east-west play. They're a ton of power play time. And none of it really seemed to be gelling yesterday. It was a 1-1 game, and the Avs ended up falling in a shootout, which is odd. Nathan McKinnon didn't score, and then Marty Necas fumbled the puck, and he didn't end up scoring. So Minnesota ended up winning in the shootout, and one of the nicest moves I've ever seen from Matthew Boldy in the shootout ever, all year in terms of shootout moves. It was so clean, just the backhand maneuver, to be able to create that space and be able to manipulate the pressure, and then be able to go up high on the goalie, which was absolutely unbelievable. And I think Colorado being in the second game of back-to-back a little bit tough for them too. It's hard to not throw that in there because when a team's playing a back-to-back, it's usually a little bit more tiring for them. But I think they were okay. And I think they're going to want to be better after this game. And I think they're going to look to improve. Obviously, they're playing a really good team in Minnesota too. So that doesn't necessarily help. But I think part of the reason why it's so different in this back-to-back situation is first they're playing a team in Chicago who they're dominating for a majority of time, creating a lot of possession time on, and then it's the opposite effect. They go into and away into Minnesota's rink as the away team, and it kind of flipped the switch a little bit. Like Minnesota was creating a little bit more chances. There were times where the ads were creating, but I think for the most part, Minnesota was doing a good job controlling play. And I think there were situations that were really, it was really noticeable, like for guys like Matt Zuccarello, Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy. Those guys were all really noticeable. I thought Justin Brazeau had a really good debut. Brock Faber looked really good as a shutdown defenseman. Ryan Hartman was noticeable. Vinny Hinostroza was noticeable. I thought Gustav Nyquist was a little inconsistent, but he was noticeable, and he had stretches of time where he was noticeable too. Like when Minnesota has that much depth going in their lineup, Marcus Johansson's another one too. When Minnesota has that many guys going throughout this game, especially both up front and on their decor, it's hard to stop. Like when they're in the rhythm right out of the gate into this game, and they were able to create a lot of sustained ozone time, sustained possession time, and I think Minnesota is doing a good job at being able to manage the tempo of Colorado. And on Colorado's side, like there were a few guys that are noticeable, but I wouldn't necessarily say they were their top guys were extremely noticeable. Like Marty Necas was kind of he was okay in this game. One of the worst games I've seen from him in an Avs uniform. I think he could have been better, but Nathan McKinnon was still creating chances. Cale Makar was creating chances, but it's just like if they're not scoring, it's hard for Colorado to do much of anything. You need Cale Makar producing. You need Nathan McKinnon producing. You need even Arturi Lehkonen, Marty Necas. Those guys need to produce on a regular basis for this team to be able to gel on a regular basis going down in the final stretch of the season. And I think last night it was just their top players weren't producing, and it's kind of the reason why things went the way they did. I mean, they got scoring from, when I look at the box score, Sam Malinsky, Sam Girard, and Yoel Kiviranta. Those are the three guys that ended up getting points in this game. Kiviranta was the lone goal scorer. So you need more than that. And I think Colorado, they're going to be better. It's just one off game. Like every team has off games. Every team has games where it's like, why did it go this way? And it happens every time. But usually the best teams are able to bounce back from that and just move on right away. And that's probably what's going to happen with Colorado and how they're going to be able to manage that in the course of the next couple of days or so as well.